I'm just joking. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode. Welcome to another fucking recording with your Lord, Master, Savior, Tyrant, Leonark, and welcome to another episode of Thought 3. Oh my God, so much energy, so much vigor, so much sexual tension. Oh, full board, full ball. Oh my God, and of course I would be remiss without introducing my special lovely co-host, Grimmy! Hello, Grimmy, how are you today? Rather good? Well, hold on, Grimmy. I don't want to go right into it. You know, you have to soften them up first. You have to tease them a little bit, okay? Okay. So before we get into that, hello and welcome. I'm so happy to be here. So happy to be having another recording, another session with all of my mad mages, all of my pretty princesses, my hard knights. And hard nights. Oh my God, no. It is it is the springtime. Nature is full in bloom with all her bosom in glory. Can you smell the euphoria in her pussy? Woo! I don't know what happened. It must have been in that tea. Who put something in it? Come on, be real. No, oh my God, I'm so happy because you know what? Last minute of this recording, I did a video about the solar eclipse and how it was a time of change, how a time to start fresh. And it's something that I think actually probably happened. I don't even know what's going on anymore. I really don't know. But what I do know is that this year, from that point onward, I want to do things differently. I want to be better in myself. I want to help and encourage other people to be better themselves as well. So I think during this time of change, of process, we saw the two twins reunite to form the celestial womb. And from that, a new day, a new relationship, a reconciliation, all the beautiful things that come with life and birth have now been brought forth into the universe. And I am excited. So there's many things I'm planning ahead. And I know everyone's worried about this year, whatever. Look, honestly, don't sweat the shit, okay? You want to make a difference, you do something about it, okay? Worry about your life first and then everyone else's, okay? Get your affairs in order before you put together a country or a city or a family or whatever the hell you want to talk about. So before I go into the subject for today, I sort of want to give you sort of an update into my other life. My life as a professor at the Magic Academy. So there's been a lot of developments recently. We have a swath of new professors coming in. A few of students have actually had submit sort of a application to join my class, as well as some other, professors as well, to come and talk with me. They sort of like my energy. They like what I'm doing. They sort of like the fact that, I am pretty much, no hold barred. I am the type of person that, is pretty open. But I can be respectful if I have to be. And I am someone that appreciates knowledge and information and the wisdom with how to apply that information, which is a lot more important, let's be honest. So we had a few things going on. Summer's almost here. We are sort of in the springtime. Well, technically, the seasons very change. It's not like cut and dry for, 4 seasons, exactly from where I come from. You have things like rainy seasons, which you can always call the fall, but not really. There's also the umbral season. That's the season of darkness where I come from. The whole continent goes dark for about, God, how long is it? Maybe like a few months, believe it or not. And we have to sort of, use artificial lighting, things like magic or whatever. But we have a whole process put in place. Honestly, the landscape is beautiful. The flowers and the stones light up the landscape in a sort of unimaginable fashion. It's something beautiful and it's marvelous to behold. Is it nighttime? Yes. But our elders and the ones before us, of course, our forebears, our forefathers as well, they were able to sort of construct a sort of a lesser moon, as you understand it. It sort of hovers above the city and it provides us the light we need. So we don't, and it's fueled by mana, of course, as well as, but what they did, which was an ingenious thing, was that they sort of utilize the mana, the material that this thing is formed out of, and have it feed off of the natural mana landscape we have here. And in dire times where maybe that thing is sort of in need or perhaps lacking thereof, we also, give up a tiny bit of ourselves to help fuel that light source until, the sun returns. And then we're able to get, natural manner, everything gets recharged. It's beautiful. But during this time, it is a time of sleep, or the time of, dreams or remembrance, because nature sort of, goes to sleep. Sort of like how winter is for you guys. It's sort of, it's cold, it's dark, it sucks sometimes, but it only lasts for a certain while. In a similar nature, though we do not get the cold, we get very pervasive darkness that sort of lingers, and sometimes the moon's not even out, and so sometimes we do have the moon. It's there, but it doesn't provide sufficient light for what we need it for. So we had to construct another one, a lesser one, sort of, to sort of help do what the moon usually would do. And it's only operable for about, several months out of the year. We sort of turn it off everywhere else. It's sort of like a ceremony thing. As soon as the last light leaves our continent, we sort of have like this giant, it's almost like a gateway for the sun to sort of pass by and leave us. But then at that same time, that's when we, sort of raise up this pseudo moon, and then we start activating it. And the last light of the sun is what essentially activates the pseudo moon. It's a beautiful ceremony. We have moon cakes, moon pies, we have chips, we have little festivities. And of course, fire is still available. So that is there. We were, some say given, but we have ways of, getting around certain natural factors and hindrances. Thanks to magic, thanks to the elements, thanks to what we have. So we are very well cared and provided for. So there's that going on. There's also the games that are happening. We call it the springtime games, or we call it the tournament of flowers. It's very nice and pretty. It's when, most of the things, sort of in bloom, blah, 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 but, sort of the young prospects. Usually this time is where we hold our graduations. It's around springtime. We sort of, encourage the birth of a new life, the passing on to another stage, your second stage, or your more adult stage, or teenager stage, or whatever it is. The springtime is sort of to help nurture the body, nurture the mind, as we are nurturing the child. And then when it comes to that point in time within the season of springtime, if you are of age, we do a ceremony that helps carry you over. And part of the ceremony are the festivities, of which include the tourney, which is where we have it in giant sort of coliseum, where they sort of go in head to head and they prove what they've learned. And sometimes they can even fight against professors. It's sometimes an all-out thing, but it's all in good fun, nothing serious or lethal. And in any case, we have bands that have sort of protect against that sort of thing, for things like illegal spells, or to prevent actual deaths from happening, even if someone does get a bit too carried away because they learned something in class or on their own time. And every now and then, if it's a new spell, and it's something that is displayed and effective, it is then taken to the board, studied, and if accepted as part of the curriculum, they are then pushed several levels up into a higher position within the society, and they are granted, things like what's it called? They are granted amnesty. They are granted I guess like medallions of innovation and novel of noble ideas. Sometimes they are even given scholarships to attend even great universities. A job to things of that nature is to come up with some things of their choosing, of course. They're all able to choose. Sometimes it can even be a gift of maybe like a companion of some kind, sometimes rare and very expensive. And then honestly, the list goes on and on. But during this time of spring, of season, of new things happening, new pathways, and the fact that a solar eclipse happened in this world, what a more perfect time to begin your journey into something new, into something fantastical. So I urge all of you guys to sort of do that sort of thing, as well as my students. We are getting close to that time. So the last test you have is going to be due very soon. Okay, listen to me. It's going to be due very soon. So I want all of you to sort of, make sure you're keeping up on your studies. And then once that's over, hey, baby, we're in the spring break season. And we start a bit later, but the spring breaks are a lot longer. And there are festivities during that time as well. So you can sure take part in it. Feel free to watch. But if you have any questions, make sure to contact me or Elsaba. Elsaba is very talented. I'm sorry, those of you who don't know this. Elsaba is another professional that she, resides here on the academic grounds. And she is very powerful, very knowledgeable, and she's surprisingly not that old. She's about my age, but she's been in different circles. She grew up around, very powerful mages, very different kinds of creatures. So she has a brilliant perspective, and she's incredibly talented. She's probably one of my equals when it comes to this school in terms of combat and as well as, everything else. She's not the most personable person. That's sort of where she sort of lacks in. But she makes up for it in ingenuity and in ferocity when it comes to battle, which is amazing. I love you, Asaba. So I hope all of you guys sort of, talk to her as well. We're sort of working together on this because we want to make sure all of you guys study. A few of the professors have sort of teamed up to make sure that you guys are getting the best. The old farts, what you call boomers, the old farts, we've sort of been ignoring them, honestly. We're trying to get them on the way. We're actually getting more funding from the more modern societies. We live in the more oldest region of the continent. It's unavoidable sometimes. It is perhaps one of the best schools in the continent, save for the faculty. So there's that whole thing we had to sort of worry about. But I'm excited. I'm happy because a few of our students have been personally selected by the board members as well as some other persons out of the sort of city or the town that we're in to participate in the tourney and to, I guess, go in for a drawing of who, I guess, is going to be their celestial master. Nothing deistic, but it's essentially a person that is in commune with such cosmic and great forces that has an incredible knowledge of power and intellect, and only a few students are ever selected for this honor. I didn't get to go to the celestial. I went to the other side. I went to the Infernal Masters. That's a whole other thing. But we're not gonna get into that. Did I have a good time? Too much of a good time. The Celestial Masters tend to be kind of tight asses, but they're good. Let me tell you what the things they can do. It is marvelous. Have I been in talks with one? Yes, I have been, and I think they've taken a rather good liking to me, which is good. And honestly, I would like to sort of know their secrets. I would love to know their secrets. So, for any of you out there that perhaps know a Celestial Master, send them my way, please. But enough of that. Now, to get into the subject of today's video, let me get a bit closer. There we go. Oh, it's a bit too close. You can almost feel my, never mind. So the new one, our new subject for today, not really even new, is going to be... I'm so sorry. I'm so giddy. I don't know what it is. I haven't been used yet. The subject for today's video is going to be about belief. Yes. Now, this could potentially be a two-parter because it's something that determines a lot of factors within both of our societies. Belief is something. To describe belief, it is essentially putting your faith in something that may or may not exist. It's simply the confidence or the certainty about something. You can attune it to faith because belief and faith have the same sort of grounds. But when we are talking about belief, when I am talking about belief, I am referring to the structures that are around belief and how belief can affect not only the world, but your practice. Now, there are some times where things we do, though we do not believe, but we take the proper steps to ensure these things can happen. If we doubt the results may still occur. But it is the certainty that can come through things that are more ethereal in nature. The reason why I'm talking about belief is because belief can sort of hinder our progression as a society, even as practitioners, or even as a normal mundane person. And it can also be something that can help us to progress. And it can be something that can help us to advance within ourselves, within our own person, and within the society we live in. The reason why I wanted to talk about belief in this video is because I have noticed that there is perhaps a sort of pervasive belief that I think I see happening within the occult circles, as well as what I see happening on the outside. Everyone has them. And I feel as though we are at a point in time where we must seek to build bridges and not burn them. We cannot progress in a society that is slowly falling behind because we are not giving forth a hand to help them and pull them into the future. Because society is built by the people. And so in order for society to be functional, to be, what's the proper word? To be self-sufficient, all the parts need to sort of work together to promote the whole. Sort of the white and red blood cells within the body that can help the body keep going. Things like the platelets, or any other sort of things, the antibodies, things like that. All of these things, though they are different in form and function, they work together to create a single form that works as it is supposed to. A society is supposed to work the same way. But when you have these different parts that believe they are supposed to be something else than what they are, or they are believing in things that are essentially hindering one person's growth and promoting another, or they're believing in things that are sort of limiting or taking away their power, it is the ones who are in the middle that are observant of these things to sort of speak forth these words of encouragement and power to sort of help meld these sort of sides together. When it comes to things like belief, many cultures experienced the outcomes of certain beliefs, whether they be something political or religious. And sometimes, many times in life and through history, we have seen the effects that certain beliefs have had, whether or not it was events like the Holocaust, whether or not it was, Attila the Hun, I think it was Attila, destroying almost a percentage of the population on Earth in Asia. Whether or not it was the, belief that, homosexuals in the 70s were the ones that were, sort of carrying on the disease, or that they were sort of, demons in disguise, or whether or not, Native Americans were, always, eating children, engaged in dark acts or whatever. But, there's also the belief that, that men are the problem. Or that somehow the white man is the problem. And I'm going to get into this because I feel as though this has to be talked about, and it's not enough. If we keep, and it's not dismissing the past actions that were committed against not only minority groups, but against other people of the same group. But the root of those problems is belief. The belief you have that you are different, that you are superior to another race, to another creed, to another belief system, is essentially what creates these rifts in the community, what sort of puts a damper on the effectiveness of the whole, the different parts of the cell. When you have cells that are devouring and destroying other cells, they become a cancer. It's a cancer cell. And so they're essentially destroying the whole by attacking the individual groups and consuming them from within. That is what we don't want. That's what I do not want to sort of, promote. When it comes to things like belief, for example, we have to understand how many different cultures have them, and to see if there's any way to sort of help bridge that gap. Because when we have concepts like belief or anything else, it can sort of cause a lot of problems. When you believe that you are so different from another person, you start to alienate them. You start to give them labels or ideas or sort of, concepts. You start to put upon them certain caricatures that they don't even possess. And so if they in turn start to receive that sort of treatment from you, they start to believe what you're sort of putting out there. It sort of puts them into this sort of state of permanence that is unable to resolve its issue. And so that's when you sort of get these problems. When we as people or practitioners or believers that are sort of in a certain mindset or belief system have this idea that things are black and white, when those of us that are in magic know that there is a bunch of gray, that there are many similarities between two things that are supposed to be opposite, we start to sort of dangerously tread in those waters. We've seen that done within the two-party system within this country. We've seen it done between the belief systems and religious structures within our society. We have seen it done between races, and honestly, and between sexes as well. And though there are very valid points for each side has, I feel as though we need to sort of cease that sort of thing. Not to cease the teaching of how these sort of differences sort of hurt us in the entire process, but teaching things as to how we can sort of bridge that gap there. We can sort of heal that wound that was put upon us by older generations, by older belief systems and structures that have no part in today's society. If you were part of a belief structure that believed that certain kinds of people were destined for, an infernal death, that they were destined for pain and misery, that they deserve pain and misery, especially when it's not even their fault that they are what they are, whether they be, of a certain sexual orientation, inclination, whether they be a type of race or a type of gender, any of the sort of things, when we sort of keep perpetuating that sort of problem, you are essentially creating more rifts not only outside, but within the community as well. Okay? Now, this is a video that may, cause alarm for some, and I know all of it. But being in the middle, treading these paths, observing what I'm observing, I'm starting to see that we, even as a group, though we are aware of the things that have happened in time, we cannot judge a current generation on things that happened 2 or 3 generations ago. Because then you are applying judgment on victims of their circumstances. And that's not the right thing to do. It is not their fault. They grew up in a family that is intolerable of other kinds of people. It is not their fault that they grew up in a belief system that has beliefs about another kind of person. The only job we should have is to sort of not only educate, but to show through example that we are beyond that point and that we are on the point of healing, of mending. The world is in need of healing, but so much more the human spirit. So when we keep talking about things like, the differences between the genders or the sexes, though there are, but it's nothing super significant. We shouldn't even focus on those sort of things. We are spirits first. The shell that is the human body, something that comes secondary. But when we are focusing on those sort of things that show how much different we are, and not so much the beautiful differences we possess that can sort of help our society to progress forward, we're using them as hindrances to the society as a whole, which I think is dangerous. When it comes to things like belief, when you are putting and working together, what you believe about the working matters, whether or not it's going to be successful. But how you believe in a working as you're doing the work, it can also affect the outcome. If you are doing a sort of working for something positive, but then something goes into your mind like apprehension or nerves or anything else, the sort of energies of your belief can get sort of mixed into the spell that you are doing, and it can make it do something that you perhaps did not intend and perhaps may not even like. So there's that aspect when it comes, but when we are thinking about the practical sense, there should be more people that want to embrace this sort of lifestyle, this sort of work, this sort of, faith of whatever thing that we do. But because we have this sort of broom up our asses about things that happened in the past, though they are significant, and though they just help shape our society what it is today, it does our community, it does our society no favors when we are still perpetuating the same hatred, whether or not it was justified, upon people that had nothing to do with it. A white person that is born today has nothing to do with what happened back then. Some can be fine, and most are. And they look at you with friend and kindness. And they just grew up in a certain society where, things just are the way they are, whether or not they are just. But it is allowing them to see that sort of injustice and how they can sort of help it. Because believe it or not, when it came to the racial inequality within this country, a big factor that helped push us forward was the white man during that time. We cannot pretend as though we solved all of our own problems. We did not. We needed help from the other side to help us bring us into a better and brighter future. They involved themselves because they saw the inequality, they saw the injustice. But we, as well as practitioners, as believers in magic, have to atone for the things that we have also done, because we have sort of perpetuated this cycle of hatred for injustices that were committed upon our ancestors or upon our person. But part of healing ancestral trauma, part of healing our own spiritual trauma, religious trauma, or societal trauma, whether you are mundane or not, is to look towards the future and to see the wrongs that were done in the past by people that are probably not even around anymore. We need to sort of help to grow past that, because there could perhaps potentially be so much more happening within our community. There could be so much more happening and more people coming into the fold, making our families, our communities bit bigger, better, brighter. But because of our belief systems, because of how we sort of look at certain kinds of people, because of the things we say, we are essentially deterring and detracting potentially new candidates for the betterment and progression of not only our community, but the society at large. And I think we have to sort of stop that. There are some that tend to keep these same ideals, but it is because they have become victims to the previous generation's hateful rhetoric. But to say that the only way to resolve that is through more hateful rhetoric doesn't make any sense. I understand that we have this concept of, treating poison with poison. And sometimes those things can balance out, but other times it can lead to more disaster. And it can lead to greater damage and a negative outcome than what we wanted. And it can be incredibly hard sort of put those things aside. That is where the working comes in. Working is something that isn't just external. It can be something that's very introspective. And so that can be very spiritual. When you're sort of healing those rifts, the sort of ideals or the hatred you have towards another group, it can help you reach out and build a bridge to form a stronger connection. We can't forget that the living are also spirits in and of themselves, but they are residing within, forms that can walk and move about. We need to keep that in mind. And so when it comes to things like belief, what you believe, all beliefs matter, and then all beliefs don't. At the end of the day, it's what you get out of it, it's what you do, it's what you apply to that belief that matters, and the results of that application. So we just sort of keep this thing in mind, because I'm getting very tired of hearing about how men are the problem, or how white men are the problem, or how the patriarchy. These things, to be fair, they were a problem, and they still are. But they're only a problem because they stem from a belief that they are better, that they have everything they need. And even if they sort of set those things up to be the case, they don't have to be any longer. But it's because most of us have to sort of, bridge that gap. You can't have peace with an enemy if you're always treating them like the enemy. You have to give an olive branch. If two nations are warring and there's another nation coming to destroy them, they have to sort of quash the beef, make up, become friends so that they can grow as a society and essentially unite, and to become bigger and better. I'm not disavowing or, or sort of, what's the proper word? Or, what's the word? Ignoring, I'm not putting aside or saying that the things or traumatic events that happened in the past didn't happen. Of course they did, but it is the past. We can't look at someone new and put their grandfather's face on them. Just because your father was either a white supremacist, a racist, or a Nazi, doesn't mean you are, doesn't mean you have to be. The dangerous thing about belief is that in order to sort of keep certain belief systems alive, they would try to infect or groom younger generations to uphold that belief, even if it is dangerous. But unless they see the error of their ways, unless they see the hypocrisy, the contradictions, or the negative aspects to their own belief systems, they won't change it. The only person that can essentially change the person is the individual person themselves. I can perhaps convince you of certain information, certain belief systems, but you're the one that ultimately either believes in it or you don't, or you take measures to sort of either prove or disprove what I have told you. And then whatever outcomes you get from that help form the person and the belief structures that govern your life throughout the rest of your life. So I feel as though it is important that as we have reached the solar eclipse and the new light, the new life beginning, let this be the start of something new, of something better. Don't just look at something with, it is this, it is that. Especially us as, practitioners or witches or whatever you want to call yourself. We know better. We know that things aren't black and white. We know that things aren't simply what they are because they look as if they are that. But that's not how it works. There are many predators in life that will look like something. Wolves in sheep's clothing. Predators can disguise themselves in camouflage to blend into their surroundings. And then, when they pounce on you, it's already too late at that point. But if you are wise to the patterns that these predators sort of take, these shapes that they take, you can perhaps be better prepared and you have a forewarning to help you better understand not only how the predators react, but what they're going to do. And it can help, essentially prepare you for a potential encounter. So when you have the information, when you have the belief, when you have the tools ready to tackle that danger, that obstacle, you will, surpass it. You will overcome it, or at least avoid it, to help your life be a bit easier or intact. And it's not to say that, these struggles won't come and these belief systems don't already exist. But to keep I'm just getting tired of it. I'm like, we're not getting anywhere. What you're essentially throwing missiles and bombs back at the other. It's like what's happening in the Middle East. It's been happening for thousands of years. Why? Because they have differences of beliefs. And because they have differences in those beliefs, and because they don't quash those beliefs or see the similarities they have instead, they have essentially been warring for thousands of years. And I'm not going to get into the whole thing. I'm not going to get into it because honestly, it's exhausting. Okay, it's exhausting. Look at where they are still, thousands of years later. It's stupid and idiotic. But what I want for us is to have something better, something brighter. And whether or not we have a future, While we are still alive now, we should encourage, communication. We should encourage friendships, building bridges, mutual understanding. And there are some people you can't talk to and just leave them be. They are stuck in their own beliefs. You can't help that. But you have to be the antidote to this problem, to help remedy this situation. And so I think that's very important. Okay, so when it comes to your spells, when it comes to your, building relationships, building friendships, or anything like that, I encourage all to sort of look within yourselves first, figure out what's wrong with you, figure out what beliefs you have, whether or not they're right, or whether or not you see them applicable in today's society, or whether or not, people have a point as to what they say or believe about you. You know, everyone should come forth with what they believe in, but they have to have a why. And they have to ask, well, is it acceptable? It's something that is relatively good for today's standards. But that's where it sort of gets tricky when it comes to things like belief or even faith, for that matter. And so, but it is something in the working, something that is worth working through. Because I think, unfortunately, as I've seen in the community, we haven't really done much to sort of help, mediate that sort of thing or remedy that. And I think we are going to probably suffer in the future. We need to sort of, help build stronger communities, better communities. But we also have to learn how to build olive branches for other communities that perhaps thought we were different to sort of come over and see how good we really are, to see how amazing and sexy we are as well, so that we can have more fun. Because honestly, some of those Christians. I'm joking, I'm teasing, but no. But think about what I've said. If you have comments or whatever, feel free. My comment section is open. Will I read it? Maybe, maybe not. But honestly, it's all valid. So wherever you see this, think about what I said, work on it, see what sort of things or biases you have to another side, and start to look at things with a different lens. Not children aren't always their parents. But, when they are constantly around their parents where they have no sort of, other ways of believing or seeing anything, that's sort of ideas that they have, and they inherit those beliefs from the preceding generations. And so it is sort of, learning how to sort of get past that, because I think it is important for us to sort of, work through it. Because if we don't, then, that's just what's going to happen. We're going to have more of the same. It's a repeating cycle, which is something that we should sort of go against, especially when it's something that negative. So think what I said, work through it, work through yourselves, work out, have a good time. Remember to keep up on your studies. Remember to practice safety, whether it is sex or magic. Remember to practice, communication. It is important to learn how to communicate with not only the spirits of the dead, but the spirits of the living as well. Learn how to sort of, embrace new ideas, new facts, new structures, new practices to help sort of better yourself, not only as a person, but as a practitioner, as a worker, or as somebody else, as a new being within this sort of new cycle of life. Understand that, there are communities out there, like ours, for example. We try, we struggle, we do everything we can to help ensure that our community not only grows, but it is self-sufficient and that can sustain itself through eternity, through time and space, whatever those concepts are. I want us to be sure that, we are taking care of our animals, our brothers who we keep locked in a cage, and that you remember that on this channel, not only are we friends, we are colleagues, we are companions, but we are also family in a certain beautiful way. I urge all of you to, keep up on your studies. Make sure you pass that test. Make sure you're in line for the turn. It's going to be awesome. The turn is going to be fantastic, as well as the feud. And that you remember that I care for you deeply, okay? I love all of you. I hope for the best. And I encourage all of you to sort of, help develop new belief systems, see what sort of beliefs you have, and to help sort of, render those things null and void, that you are great, that you are better, that you are a person that seeks respect, demands respect, but also earns respect as well. You shouldn't be respected because we ask for it, you sort of, it's something you have to sort of earn, okay? So without further more delay, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, I will see you then, okay? Don't do anything stupid, please. Alright, I think it's a video. Now, where did I put my wand?